coded in the laws. Ink still bleeds, treating women like soil, just planting seeds. She's gone, brain dead, not even awake, but the state's got a claim, gonna plant its stake. Say it's God's will, say it's life they protect, but they ain't the ones feeling pain or neglect. From Texas to Georgia, they set the trap. Rights roll back while they smile and clap. Gilead's here, this is true. Hey mega fools, they'll come for you too. So I'm gonna jet, see you later. I'm not gonna be a baby incubator. This ain't pro-life, it's control and shame. They don't care if she's gone, just playing a game. Keep her hooked to machines, cold and still, just a vessel to them, not a human with will. No consent, no voice, no chance to resist, just laws in place, written with a clenched fist. Hospitals scared, judges playing God, bodies ain't temples, just state-owned pods. Gilead's here, this is true. Hey mega fools, they'll come for you too. So I'm gonna jet, see you later. I'm not gonna be a baby incubator. Bands in the dark, they don't care who it kills, sacking courts while they strip out all of your wills. But we'll fight back, march loud, burn bright, cause this ain't the end, it's the start of the fight. Gilead's here, ain't no grace, and those leopards are coming to eat your face. So I'm gonna jet, see you later. I'm not gonna be a baby incubator. Not gonna be a baby incubator. Not gonna be a baby incubator.
The creative director at WGSO had a little something he thought you should know. When Dan picked on his bits, Steve got real gruff. So Steve called Dan a flake, called him liberal dandruff. Steve thinks that his lines are really clever, but when do people ever like him? Never. Liberal Dan's got better lyrics, this is true. Listen and you'll feel like I do. Liberal Dan, his show is great. Liberal Dan, he goes live at 8. Liberal Dan radio, it's the best, cause Liberal Dan's head and shoulders above the rest. Steve's about to find out his mistake. In this feud, Dan's Kendrick, Steve is Drake. Dan might not be the world's best singer, but he's got more talent in his little finger. Steve thinks that his lines are really clever, but when do people ever like him? Never. Liberal Dan's got better lyrics, this is true. Listen and you'll feel like I do. Liberal Dan, his show is great. Liberal Dan, he goes live at 8. Liberal Dan radio, it's the best, cause Liberal Dan's head and shoulders above the rest. Proclaimed king, a groper in chief, stealing our country, a crooked orange thief. For patriots who are poorly educated, wearing red hats and also unvaccinated. Liberal Dan will see us through. It's the best show that you're not listening to. So when you hear the call, animals unite. Liberal Dan radio, talk on the left, that's right. A failing media that's barely treading water. They're too inept to fight this new world order. Corporate pigs are at the trough, hear the squeals. The swine won't bite the hands that feeds them meals. But Liberal Dan will see us through. It's the best show that you're not listening to. So when you hear the call, animals unite. Liberal Dan radio, talk comes left, that's right. exposing MAGA treason, breaking through their lies with facts, logic, and reason, unmasking hypocrisy. The truth will be our guide. Call out their lies, justice is on our side. 'Cause liberal Dan will see us through. It's the best show that you're not listening to. So when you hear the call, animals unite. Liberal Dan Radio, talk from the left, that's right. Liberal Dan Radio, talk from the left, that's right.
And welcome back to Liberal Dan Radio, talk from the left, that's right. This is your host, Dan Zimmerman, coming at you from New Orleans, Louisiana. When we do open up the phone lines, it'll be 562-LIB-DAN1, 562-LIB-DAN1, 562-542-3261. Until then, you can always join us in the chats either at liberaldanradio.com or twitch.liberaldanradio.com. Either way will get you to either one of the streams, and you can pop in, leave your comments, and I will try to get as many as possible, at least until I get to the phone lines or whatever. T-minus 3 days left for the next procedure. Knee replacement, left knee replacement coming in hot on Thursday. Whether or not I do a show upcoming on Monday, we will see, just because we'll see if I have the ability to walk upstairs or not. If I can, then I will. If I can't, then I won't. But I'll keep y'all informed, let the mods know, let Andrea know, so spread the word regardless. But we'll still have another show on Wednesday, the day before the procedure. So we will at least have one more show until the operation, and then we'll go from there. It'll be interesting to see what goes on with it. You know, this is probably, I don't know if this probably is my most major procedure that I've had. I mean, I've had other procedures, but this is, I think, the most major one. So it's interesting. We'll see. We'll see how things go. I know my mom had two. I'm going to have a second one as well later on in the year, but my mom actually had both of hers done at the same time, and I'm having mine done bit by bit. My mom was actually rather surprised over the idea that I'm going home same day, and she's like, "What are you getting at a drive-through?" I'm like, "Yes, I have the self-service kiosk. I pick which knee I want, and then it just goes boop, they're done, and then we're done." So we'll see. Anyway. So thank you all for joining. We got Atrocious at Every Game, Aaron and Orvilby over on the Twitch stream. We got both members of the mod squad, the best mods on the planet, over on the YouTube stream. We got Fancy, Jackie, let's see, Steve from across the pond.
It's no Scottish, it's crap.
Who else? Jeff from just north of Uranus. Kevin, good to see you, Kevin. Tim, just popping on down. See Jan. Anybody else that I've missed so far who has said hello in the chat? Everybody, I think we've gotten it. Lots of videos tonight on the wild streets of Mos Eisley. Sorry, I mean DC. Well, you know, with the Trump administration move in, DC has become a hive of scum and villainy. So there you go. Penny to Create. Molly, joy to see you. Let's see. Trust every game. Good luck. I've never had knee replacement, but I feel like you can get through kidney stone surgery. You can get through pretty much anything, including a Trump presidency. Well, here's hoping on that one, especially getting through the Donald Trump presidency. Anyway, my hair seems just extra gray today. I don't know. Maybe just lots of stress, or maybe it just guys that haven't had it cut recently. I don't know. But I seem to be extra silvery today. Maybe it's just the light shining down on me as well. I don't know. Good to see you, Dawn. Thank you for joining. Anyway, so a bunch of stuff to talk about today. Did a little bit of show prep prior. We actually do have a hypocrite of the week today as well. But let's see. First thing I want to talk about briefly is the fact that I finally got around to watching the South Park episodes from this season, and brilliant. Let me just say that just so brilliantly done. I mean, I wouldn't expect anything less from the creators of South Park, but so brilliantly done. But one of the funniest things that came out of that was Christy Gnome was basically saying that their satirizing of her was lazy. I guess, with her melting face and everything, and her, shooting every dog she sees. I thought it was amusing. Poor little animated puppies. But you want to know what's lazy? Former Governor Gnome. Laziness is, instead of training your dog to behave, putting the dog to the side of the road and shooting him. That's lazy. Right? That is the epitome of laziness. Don't want to bother training your dog, just shoot the dog in the head. Done. Or whatever. Yeah, I mean, there's so much. I treasure every game. I haven't seen them yet. It's funny, if not depressing, the train men are pushing back on Trump more than the entire cable media ecosystem combined. Oh, you need to watch them because they push back on Paramount. They mock Paramount, and they're on Paramount. Apparently, the reason why they had a delay in episodes was because they had another episode in the can waiting for them to get sued over the whole thing, and it didn't happen. So many callbacks to previous shows, so many funny comments. I won't spoil everything for you, but it's just absolutely hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. I would definitely watch it if you can. Yes, Christy the Evil Gnome. Exactly. Benny to create. Now, let's just pull this up here for a second so I can read it better while looking at the camera. So, Dexter Holland, who is known as the lead singer of Offspring. My wife shocked my wife completely when I was telling her this. He also has a PhD in molecular biology. He has done research on microRNA and its connection in fixing or helping to help cure HIV, and that was his doctoral project. If it's successful for many people, heaven could be much further away than it previously was. Unfortunately, heaven could get much closer if RFK Jr. keeps cutting funding to research. Now, he already cut messenger RNA research. Will this be next? Because this is microRNA research, and all they will see is the M in front of the RNA and think it's the same damn thing. Regardless, it does seem like Dexter Holland is pretty fly for a white guy. If I would have had more, that would have been this week's headlines. Anyway, Trucker John's in the chat. Good to see you, Trucker John. Thank you for joining. And TV2 Live. Awesome to see you as well. Thank you for joining us this fine Monday evening. I was so tired. I've just been so exhausted, and I can't get a good night's sleep. I'm hoping that after the knee gets fixed, that's going to help, because some of the problem, I think, is I'm just having issues with the knee. However, I did go, I have a doctor's appointment on Wednesday, the day before my procedure, with my urologist. The urologist wanted to see, I guess, some scans of my bladder and my kidneys. And my right kidney looked fine, no issues. And then she had me roll on my side so she can get a better scan of my left kidney. And I'm looking up at the screen as I'm seeing things, and I see this little white little thing in my kidney. And I'm like, is that a kidney stone? And she was like, well, your doctor is going to have to tell you that. And then they call me up and they're like, can you come in on Wednesday? So I don't know if I have another kidney stone up in my other kidney now or not. I mean, are you freaking kidding me? And then there's another thing through my gastroenterologist. He wanted me to get a scan, and that is also, I don't know what's going on with that. I'm waiting to hear back from the doctor and see what they're going to say about that one. So when it rains, it pours. But what I'm going to say right now is that if I need anything more than these 2 additional, knee surgeries, I'm just glad. I hope it happens this year. I really hope it happens this year, because everything at this point is all covered at 100% first dollar. So let's just get as much out of the way as possible, right? Start 2026 with a clean slate. Knock on wood. So, good to see you, Progressively Independent. Thank you for joining as well. Who else? Did I miss anybody else hopping in the chat there? I don't know. Yeah, let's see. She would probably be VP right now if she didn't brag in her book about killing her puppy. Probably. Absolutely. Probably. You're probably right. First that comes to mind when it comes to Kristi Noem is sociopathic. Yes, that is a very good word as it pertains to the gnome. What they should have done with South Park. I wouldn't be surprised if they don't do this later on, because they're doing lots of callbacks. They should take the underpants gnomes and then have Kristi Noem become an underpants gnome, and then I will laugh very hard. And if they do that after I say this right now, just tell them that you heard it here first instead of on there. So anyway, ban somebody over on Twitch for trying to chill their cheap watchers or viewers or whatever. Yes, Tim, slow the testing down. When you have more testing, you have more conditions to treat. Right? That's Donald Trump's logic. The conditions just magically appear just because you have testing. We'll get to more on Donald Trump in a second. Emphasis on the moron. But let's see. I need to pull this other crap up here. Hold on. There we go. Close this back down, because I want to have things a little more organized than what they were. Come on, stupid. Let's see. There we go. Okay. Hey, Jan. I will try and go through as much as I can. Power through it, as you will. So, one of the things to talk about this show is out of sight, out of his mind. Donald Trump's apparent problem with object permanence. Now, we heard that Donald Trump, he took the portraits of President Obama and President George W. Bush, and he put them into some secluded stairwell. So I guess he won't have to see them. I guess if he hides the pictures, they don't exist, right? Just like if you don't test for the cases, they don't exist. According to at least Donald Trump's mind. If you don't put people on the border and instead you put ICE and Border Patrol all over the country, deporting people from, Norfolk off of cruise ships, and go to a PhD student in, the San Francisco airport, all these people, busy doing all these other things, they're not at the border, so therefore, you don't see them. And if you don't have any encounters, they're not crossing, right? Out of sight, out of mind, right? I mean, Kristi Noem did say that there were 0 border crossings over the last 3 months. 0 illegal border crossings, I should say, over the last 3 months. Really? Really? If you believe that, I got a bridge in Brooklyn I'd like to sell you. And then, of course, there's the unhoused in D.C. Donald Trump, in his attempt to have a fascist takeover of the nation's capital, has decided that he wants to, kick out all of the folks who are unhoused. Because that solves the problem, right? That cures the issue of what's going on. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. But again, if he can't see them, then they don't exist. This is something called object permanence, or the opposite of which. Object permanence is the idea that just because you can't see something, it still exists. Object permanence, according to experts, is a significant milestone in child's development because your cognitive development is progressing once that happens. It is a foundation for other skills like language development and spatial reasoning. It's usually learned between about 4 months and 7 months. So makes sense, 4 and 7, 47. Donald Trump's the 47th president. Maybe, this explains why he says, hamburgers and kofefi because maybe he hasn't actually gotten object permanence yet. Maybe that's something that's delayed. And people with a borderline personality disorder may struggle with object permanence as well, meaning they have a difficulty maintaining emotional connections with people or things that are not immediately present. The struggle can manifest in intense fear of abandonment, unstable relationships, and emotional volatility. It is a personality disorder characterized by severe mood swings, impulsive behavior, and difficulty forming stable personal relationships. According to another website, symptoms of borderline personality disorder may include a strong fear of abandonment. This includes going to extreme measures so you're not separated or rejected, even if these fears are made up. Pattern of unstable, intense relationships, such as believing someone is perfect at one moment and then suddenly believing the person doesn't care enough or is cruel. Quick changes in how you see yourself, shifting goals and values, seeing yourself as bad if you don't exist. I mean, that doesn't apply to him, clearly. Periods of stress-related paranoia and loss of contact with reality. These periods can last from a few minutes to a few hours to, I guess, whole presidencies. Impulsive and risky behavior, such as gambling. I mean, he did run casinos. Dangerous driving. He did supposedly grab at the wheel when he wanted to go to Congress during January 6th. Unsafe sex. I think he did say that he went raw dog with Stormy Daniels, or at least she did. Spending sprees. That's apparent. Binge eating. Hamburgers. Drug misuse. I guess we can't necessarily put that on him. Sabotaging success by suddenly quitting a good job or ending positive relationships. I don't know how many positive relationships he has, but, you know, he has declared bankruptcy many times. So, wide mood swings that last for a few hours, a few days. These mood swings can include periods of being very happy, irritable, or anxious, or feeling shame. That last one Donald Trump doesn't have. But ongoing feelings of emptiness, I don't really know if he feels empty or not. Inappropriate, strong anger, such as losing your temper often, maybe throwing ketchup bottles against the wall, being sarcastic or bitter, or physically fighting. And again, this, you don't have to have all of these. It just says symptoms may include. So some people with borderline personality will have some of these, other people will have other of these. And well, I am not a psychologist or a psychiatrist. I am, the only closest I've gotten is I was nearby my mom when she was learning her degree in social work, and I think I picked up a few things. But, I think it's reasonable to conclude that Donald Trump may very well have borderline personality disorder, and it's very well possible that perhaps because he has borderline personality disorder, he has issues with object permanence, and that's why he thinks that if you hide portraits, if you, hide the homeless people, the unhoused, if you don't look at testing, if you stop testing, all those things, he believes that those things, the COVID tests won't, the COVID cases won't exist, the pictures won't exist, maybe even the presidents won't exist, the unhoused won't exist, if you just sweep them under the rug and, pay no attention to them. So what do you think? Do I have an accurate assessment of Donald Trump's mental health, or lack of health for that matter? Let me know down in the comments below. Anyway. So that's that. So yeah. Just ridiculous that Donald Trump, that this fits Donald Trump so well. Let's see. Lots of chat, a bunch of chats popped up in the Twitch chat. Let's see. Oh, it just got sent. You got a pretty, okay. Way to clean up America to force the potheads to join the military. The military would shape up potheads real quick, and the potheads would stop being a drag on society. Wait, why do you think potheads are a drag on society? What's wrong with potheads? And what makes a pothead? Does somebody using it for pain count as a pothead? I don't know. Groovy Hot Rod. I'm sick of potheads stumbling out into traffic and passing out in parks. Is it really potheads doing that? I mean, potheads are probably sitting down on their couch, playing their PlayStations and eating giant bags of Doritos because they have the munchies. I'm very confused, Hot Rod, as to how your line of reasoning there. The military makes you wear clean clothes. The potheads would really, man. Are we like in the 60s or something? Like, did you just like binge watch Reefer Madness on repeat when you were younger? I don't know. Potheads lie around on the couch eating chips, playing Pac-Man, and demanding handouts. Do they? I mean, you know, that sounds more like CEOs of big corporations than potheads demanding their handouts. That's silly. Anyway, Big Hook, good to see you, Big Hook. Super hot day in Vancouver. 30 degrees Celsius. Wow, 30 degrees Celsius. So that's, you know, you divide by 5 is 6 times 9 is 54 plus 32 is 86 degrees. Wow, that does seem pretty warm for a Vancouver day, a balmy Vancouver in the 80s Fahrenheit, because, you know, we have to be different down here. Let's see. Kevin's last Sunday I got in Diane's good gracious. She's I didn't know anybody played opposite Kathy Bates in Misery. His name is James something, James Kahn. Diane goes, "You're awesome." Well, that is true. And you're awesome, and it's for the best. Apparently my dogs are barking, and not my feet, but my younger but taller brown dog is barking downstairs. Well, good to see you, John Deff. Thank you for joining the show. Ave Maria. Gee, it's good to see you. Getting ecstatic and sort of dramatic and doing the Vatican rag. Anyway. Man, Groovy Hot Rod is on that weed kick over there. I mean, are you projecting? I mean, I've been known to partake in some edibles. Do I seem like somebody who's a pothead to you? I mean, I'm sitting here, you know, cogent and aware and doing an awesome podcast. Good to see you, CR. Good to see you as well. Thank you for joining. What else? Let's scroll back and see if I've missed anything out. Does Trump have the options to leave porches up or take them down? I mean, I'm sure because he's in charge of the White House that he can decide, you know, what he's going to do with things. But it just seems kind of childish, don't you think, that Donald Trump wants to move the portraits of former presidents into areas where they won't be seen. Right? Lots of water. Let's see. Isn't Texas practice for an even hotter place that rhymes with HE double hockey sticks? Probably. Especially because you have Satan as governor. Hey, guy. Hey, Satan. Don't want to give away too much. Anyway, Steve, I was in an elevator once and a real UK junkie got in. He put a jumper on and realized it was inside out, so he swapped it over. Don't have the heart to tell him that he put it on backwards now. Hilarious. My uncle used to say, "Damn hopheads." Straightening out the pothead should be a national priority. Now, the national priority should be not treating people like they're animals. National priority should be making sure that Donald Trump can't harm as many people as possible. But, you know, I just don't understand. Like, man, you must have just had reefer madness, like, gone into your head. That's crazy. Yeah, pot is not a serious epidemic. Fentanyl may be an issue, and you know, look, we'll get on that in a second. We'll get on the fentanyl thing in a second. Well, actually, let's do this now. We will play this week's Hypocrite of the Week, and then we will talk about fentanyl. Actually, we can just start recording now and then start talking about the whole fentanyl thing. This week's Hypocrites of the Week are all the conservatives cheering the Trump administration for seizing many kilos of fentanyl. When the Biden administration announced that they had seized much more, it was used as proof that we had an open border. Well, if seizing fentanyl means a wide open border then, why not now too? Also, dog killer Kristi Noem announced that we had 3 months of zero illegal border crossings. How did all that fentanyl get here? Clearly, you can't trust any of the numbers from the Trump administration because the math isn't mathing. To see who the next hypocrite of the week will be, tune in live Mondays and Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Central at liberaldanradio.com or twitch.liberaldanradio.com for more talk from the left. That's right. Right, so Kash Patel was in front of a Senate hearing, and he was talking about all of the fentanyl that the FBI and Border Patrol and whatever, all the fentanyl that has been seized in this country from, during the tenure of Donald Trump's, I guess, first 200 days. Now, remember, when in about 2022, during the Biden presidency, it was announced that the Biden administration had seized much more fentanyl than that. And the Republicans went nuts. The Republicans went absolutely batshit crazy. Let's see. Fentanyl is flooded across our borders and is a driving force behind the overdose epidemic that has devastated families across the nation. Blah, blah, blah. The Biden administration's weak stance on border security and drug enforcement has enabled drug traffickers to send enormous amounts of fentanyl into our country, poisoning our streets and killing countless Americans. Well, I'm actually sure you could probably count them. The carnage and destruction caused by these weak and incompetent policies must end now. So Biden seizing fentanyl is proof that he's ineffective, right? And proof that we have a porous, wide-open border. Last year, Greg Stube says, last year, Customs and Border Protection seized enough fentanyl to kill every American 7 times. Amid this unprecedented crisis, I urge the Biden administration to act quickly in making fentanyl substances a Schedule I classification permanent, because it is, but it's just not permanent, I guess. Border security is national security. Criminal cartels have more control over our southern border now than our own Border Patrol, allowing fentanyl and fentanyl-related substances to flood our communities and kill Americans. He stopped them. Biden stopped the drugs from going across the border, or at least as they crossed the border, he stopped them because they're in the country. So again, this back then made me think that maybe they were mad, not because he stopped the fentanyl, but maybe the GOP were funding their campaigns with fentanyl sales, and as such they were pissed off that Biden took away their ability to raise funds via selling fentanyl to people. So, but basically the same common theme amongst all these people is that somehow having fentanyl being seized by our government is proof of an open and porous border with people, coming across it illegally and then trying to get those drugs to the people who they would harm. So why now should we not use that same logic for the Trump administration? Why are the conservatives? Well, because hypocrisy is a conservative prerequisite. That's why they're not. But why are they not saying, oh, we still have a porous border? Drugs are still coming across the border. So therefore, it must be porous. We must have tons of people crossing the border with all of this fentanyl if they were able to seize it. But Kristi Noem, the dog killer, says that we've had 0 in the last 3 months. So how do you measure? That dog doesn't hunt. How do you square that circle? How do you make that math make sense? If we've had 0 illegal border crossing for the last 3 months, then how is the fentanyl getting here? If the fentanyl is here because of border crossing, then Kristi Noem is lying. But here's the thing. With this administration, as we've said before many times on the show, you cannot trust any of the facts or figures that they give you. They released some information showing, a jobs report that wasn't as good as he thought it was. He fires the person, they shoot the messenger, they fire the person who actually gave the information out. Not that that person came up with the information. The people who were working under her, I guess, were the ones that actually came up with the information. She was just reporting that information, but he had to fire her because he didn't want people knowing valid and true information. Again, he didn't want people testing for COVID because when you have more testing, you have more cases, which is, of course, dumb. Testing reveals cases that are already there. Just by burying your head in the sand, it doesn't mean that the cases aren't there, that the people aren't already infected. Many examples on this show that I've talked about where Donald Trump has, looked at the optics of the situation. Again, sweeping the homeless people under the rug or wherever he's going to put the unhoused folks. ignoring them, putting them somewhere else so they're not a seen problem, because to Donald Trump, if you can't see it, it's not there. Donald Trump really must not believe that John Cena actually exists, because you can't see him either. Anyway, so we should not believe any of the numbers coming from the Trump administration. Kash Patel tells us that he seized however many pounds of fentanyl, how many kilos of fentanyl that they've seized. It could be one of two ways. They could be lying about it and trying to say, okay, well, saying that they've got more and they've seized more than they actually have, because if he thinks that that's going to make him look better, he will say that. Or he'll say maybe they seized less. They've seized fewer pounds or kilos of fentanyl because they don't want to admit the real numbers. Or maybe they haven't even caught a whole bunch of them because, again, Border Patrol is not operating on the border. They're operating in Norfolk. They're not on the southern border. They're in San Francisco Airport, detaining all sorts of people. So why would we believe any of the numbers coming from this administration on fentanyl seizures or anything else for that matter? But even if you do want to say that these numbers are true and accurate on the number seized, that means that Kristi Noem's accurate numbers, or Kristi Noem's numbers on border crossings of 0 border crossings over the last 3 months, can then have to be false. You can't have it both ways. Simple as that. Bleh. Suzanne's here. Good to see you, Suzanne. Let's pop this back over here. Kimchi. It is the goddess Kimchi in the chat as well. Good to see you. And P-Dubs. Very good to see you, P-Dubs, as well. Thank you for joining. Janelle Marie. We got a bunch of people coming. Robert Perez. Good to see you as well. I believe you're the one in the other chat who came in because Trucker John sent you. So thank you, Trucker John, for sending us Robert. Let's see. Groovy Hot Rod over on Twitch as well. Like I said, Trump has talked about it. You are wrong. Let's see. ChatGPT gives links to news stories about what? I'm sure. Let's see. Search it every game. It says, I've never smoked pot in my life. I don't want to. I refuse it every time it's been offered me. I voted to legalize in the state 2016. Good for you. That's the sign of a good person. Just because you choose not to, it doesn't mean other people shouldn't be able to choose it as well. Anyway, yeah, he's just trolling. It's not worth reading. Fair enough. But, it helps the algorithms, right? And as we all know, Al Gore needs more rhythm. Let's see. What else to discuss? Well, there's at least something else I wanted to talk about. Now, there's at least 2 more things I want to talk about. So, more on Donald Trump and the unhoused. Now, back in the day, former New Orleans councilperson for my district, Jackie Clarkson, wanted to make sure that when we had the Super Bowl coming into town, actually, I think at the time she might have been councilperson at large, but she was very concerned about the people coming in for the Superdome and then seeing the large numbers of unhoused people that live under the bridge or whatever. So they just swept them under the rug. They picked up all their stuff. They moved them to other areas so that you couldn't see them. Out of sight, out of mind. Governor Jeff Landry, the current governor of Louisiana, did a similar thing recently with, I think, a previous Super Bowl as well. It doesn't solve the problem of why people aren't housed. It just, again, shoves it under the rug. And maybe those two also have object permanence issues, as I discussed in my other video. But that's one of my points here as it pertains to the folks who are unhoused, is why do they believe that this is going to solve anything? I mean, obviously Donald Trump doesn't believe it's going to solve anything because he doesn't care about solutions. He just cares about optics. And unfortunately, many politicians, even those on our side of the aisle, many politicians care more about optics than solutions. And that's a problem in our political atmosphere. But if you want to actually solve the problem of, why people are, don't have homes, why people are living on the streets. There are many things that can be done about it. I mean, we have so many houses that are, not, lived in. So many houses that are not occupied that the banks just kind of sit on or whatever. You could house every single unhoused person in those homes if you wanted to, if you had the will to do it. But we don't. We don't treat mental health as a serious health concern. We don't treat it as any other, health issues that people might have. Now, of course, our health system is a joke anyway, and physical health issues are also not handled very well either, as we've discussed on this show. But, if we were to treat mental health as a serious health issue and make it so that the people who need mental health services, including the people who serve in the military and don't get the adequate mental health, coverage that they need to be able to help them deal with issues like PTSD, help them to deal with other issues that pertain to, either during their service or after their service. We need to get them as much help as possible. The way you solve the issue of people being unhoused is not by sweeping them under the rug. It's by making sure that they're treated with dignity and respect, by making sure that they are, getting, the health services that they need, be it mental health services, be it, physical health services. Make sure that, if they serve in the military, make sure that they can have a good job after they come out of the military. Make sure they get a decent pension. Make sure, again, that all of their health care is covered. Make sure that putting your life on the line for this country does not mean that your family is going to starve. No person who's serving in the military, even active duty, no person serving in the military should ever have to resort to food stamps. They should be able to have income coming in to treat them, during and after. And if for some reason their service has made it harder for them to find a job, then we need to give them a better disability pay, better short and long-term disability pay to deal with the issues that come with serving in the military. I can only imagine what it must be like if you serve in the military after, during Donald Trump's presidency, because, that's going to be, for that stuff that they ask you to do, like on your own citizens, which is being questioned, whatever, yeah, it's enough to give anybody some mental health issues, right? You're taught to do one thing and then Donald Trump says do something else. That might make you confused at the very least. But we need to do a better job in this country dealing with the problems that cause homelessness and not just trying to sweep it under the rug. What else? Oh, yeah. That's not here. That's in my other set of tabs, because for some reason a second set were created. Let's pop that open, drop that down. Let's check over here, see what people are saying in the chat first. Good to see you, Dean. Cities clear homeless for optics all the time, left and right. I just said that, didn't I? I literally started off my rant about the unhoused, talking about Jackie Clarkson, who is my council person in New Orleans, and every single council person in New Orleans, especially post Katrina, are all Democrats. Every elected official in New Orleans is a Democrat. So clearly, I'm talking about both, and I've mentioned that I was talking about both at least once or twice in my rant about that. So, except the graffiti is under the bridge and not on monuments, he's mad. He is mad is all that anti-fascist. Yep, true too. He doesn't like anti-fascism because he is a fascist. Litter non-existent in tourist areas. You go to certain areas into Maryland and get your GPS checked. Perhaps. Okay, hold on. Let's try and find this thing. There we go. Donald Trump and his administration. We all know that Donald Trump has issues with Hispanic folks. We all know that. If you're a native Spanish speaker, you know that what their issues are with them and how they're targeting Hispanic folks. They don't care if the person is the subject of the raid or not. If there's a subject of a raid and there's somebody hanging out with the subject of the raid, they will detain and deport them too, and they don't care. They don't care about due process. There's that, was it the hairdresser that was shipped off to El Salvador for no reason? So, we all know the issues. I mean, Donald Trump says that rapists and murderers are coming from Mexico. Some of them are good people. But, vilifying the people coming across from Mexico. But it's not just the Hispanics that Donald Trump has a problem with and the Trump administration has a problem with. For some reason, they have a gigantic hard-on for Filipinos, for people who are of Filipino descent. What the hell is going on with that? We've had, the example that we talked about on a previous show, where you had 18 people who were workers on a cruise ship who were all deported without due process, as the Supreme Court required in a 9-0 ruling, and then banned from reentry for 10 years because they claimed that there was, child pornography on their phones, on all of their phones, apparently, without providing evidence in the phones, without making any sort of argument. This is why you need to have due process, so that innocent people aren't swept up in all this, but the Trump administration doesn't care how many innocent people they harm in going after who they want to go after, which apparently, again, includes Filipino folks. After 3 months of an immigration and customs enforcement custody, a Filipino green card holder who had been arrested at the Seattle-Tacoma airport finally got to go home. Llewellyn Dixon, a 64-year-old University of Washington lab technician, who I'm sure was a major threat at 64 years old. She was a huge threat, I bet. Was released Thursday from the Northwest ICE Processing Center in Tacoma after a judge ruled that she does not qualify for deportation. So it took that long for a judge to determine that this 64-year-old woman did not qualify for deportation. She has had legal permanent resident status for the last 50 years. And had been in ICE custody since February, when she was detained after coming back from a visit to the Philippines. Outside the facility, Dixon thanked a crowd of supporters and spoke on her experience. It was horrific. It was awful, crowded. They released maybe 9, bring back 7, release 1, bring back 3. Dixon's niece, Lanny Madriga, told NBC News the hours since her release, she's been spending time with loved ones. Decades old... Supposedly, there was a decades-old embezzlement conviction caught the attention of customs. But again, this is decades old. Why didn't they do this in the first term? Right? Dixon had been a vault teller, operations supervisor at Washington Mutual Bank, and supposedly removed cash from the vault on 8 separate occasions without the bank's authorization. According to her plea agreement, she removed a total of $6,460. She pleaded guilty to a non-violent offense in 2000. She was ordered to pay restitution and spend 30 days in a halfway home, so she served her time. And in 2019, she completed her payments. Dixon had been in the U.S. since she was a teenager and has long been eligible for citizenship, but promised her father that she would maintain her Filipino nationality so that she could retain property in her native country. But again, you don't have to be a citizen to stay here legally. She was a legal permanent resident. Another legal permanent resident, Fabian Schmidt, was detained in March after being arrested at Boston Logan. This is a German person listed in the article, but again, so that's not necessarily a Filipino individual. Another person, a Filipino permanent resident in the United States, being held at the Stewart Detention Center in Georgia following his arrest in the Charlotte International Airport in North Carolina. 44-year-old Sonny Lasquite was stopped in the Customs and Border Patrol protection on the 28th of July after returning from vacation in the Bahamas with family friends. Reports indicated that a red flag in the system linked to a 2012 case prompted authorities to hold him. His family had launched crowdfunding, blah, blah, blah. They alleged that his medical neglect took place in detention as well. Sonny himself faced medical neglect during detention, including delayed access to blood pressure medications and proper care for his recent fever. The case follows calls from U.S. lawmakers for an explanation of an alleged mistreatment of lawful Asian permanent residents, including Filipinos. Similar incidents. Llewellyn Dixon also was there, listed in this article as well. But again, you also had the cruise ship workers, the 18 of those. So what is it about, and it was apparently more than just 18. It was more than just 18. There was another one that happened weeks or months prior. There was more that happened since then. Like, if you're working on a cruise ship and you're from the Philippines, why would you agree to come here? They're just going to detain, deport, and, ban you without any reason to act. So what is it that the Donald Trump administration has specifically about Filipino folks? Because I can't figure that out. I understand that he ran for office on fear-mongering of Hispanic folks. Fine. I don't agree with it, but we can at least understand where he's coming from on that one. Not because I agree with him, but because we know he's a racist and bigot when it comes to Hispanic folks. So clearly they're going to target Hispanic folks. And a lot of people in this country, especially a lot of MAGA supporters, are bigoted against Hispanic folks. If you're a native Spanish speaker, they're going to treat you poorly just because that's how MAGA does. But where's the hatred for the Filipinos coming from? Is it just because of they're not white, so therefore we have to deal with them too? But why specifically Filipinos? Why is this group also getting targeted by this administration? And no groups should be targeted by this administration. Only individuals should be targeted by the administration for deportation. Other presidents did deport people too. And, President Obama was called the deporter-in-chief by La Raza. But he wasn't accused of denying people due process. He wasn't accused of going after, the low-hanging fruit. He wasn't accused of deporting people who were here legally and not, measuring twice before cutting. Donald Trump just wants to get his numbers up for deportations. So he doesn't care who ICE seizes. He doesn't care who ICE detains and then deports. He just wants to show the numbers of who he's deporting. Which, of course, then he can always lie about it, and his supporters will believe him. But the larger number of stories about Filipino individuals being seized and detained and even deported, I don't understand where that's coming from. Of course, trying to understand the Trump administration and the motivations probably is enough to drive you mad anyway. So, let's see. There's only one person that approves of Trump in this chat, and that's you, Chad. Nobody cares what you think. I mean, of all of the MAGA folks that have come in and out of the chat, Chad tends to be the most reasonable. And that's not because he, gives frequent super chats, but, because I'll criticize Chad even after he gives a super chat if he says something I don't agree with. But, let's see what else was said by Chad. What else have I missed? What did I miss? What did I miss? Let's see. Oh, I think I'm missing something because I don't see. Talking point dump. Trump approval is 44% overall, which is better than his first term. Trump also holds 46 Latino support, highest of any Republican ever, highest black percentage Republican. I mean, I've heard I've heard stories of some black people who are just like, being deplorable just as much, because people can be deplorable regardless of what their backgrounds are. Let's see, current Trump approval ratings. Of course, Donald Trump is claiming that it's the highest ever or whatever, but he claimed like 77. You might say that he has a high, whatever, because it's the highest that he's had or whatever. But like Donald Trump calls in the Fox News, I think, or maybe it's someone else. Trump calls into some radio show or TV show and starts talking about his wonderful poll numbers, and the host's like, well, that's only because you're looking at just the Republican approval numbers and not everybody's approval numbers. President Donald Trump's approval ratings continues to dip near record lows. More respondents disapprove of Trump's job by 8 percentage point. Poll conducted, now it's February. The majority of respondents, 57%, say Trump exceeded his authority since taking office. This is, for some reason, this article was said to be recent, but I mean, it's giving old data, so we're not going to look at that one or whatever. Independents drive Trump's approval to 37%, second term low. Independents rating of Donald Trump down to 29%, matching their all-time low. Trump's 40% second quarter approval rating is below average historically. Trump's favorable rating is at 41%. 6 months into a second term, President Trump's job approval rating has dipped to 37%, lowest of this term and slightly higher than his all-time worst rating of 34% at the end of his first term. Trump's rating has fallen 10 percentage points among U.S. adults since he began his second term in January, including a 17-point decline among independents to 29%, matching his lowest rating in that group in either of his terms. Do you approve or disapprove of the way Donald Trump is handling his job as president? Percent approve, 89% if you look at just Republicans, 37% overall U.S. adults, 29% if you look at independents, and of course 2% of Democrats. This is a July 7th to 21st, 2025 Gallup poll, which began days after Trump signed into law the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. On July 4th, the law addresses many of Trump's second-term priorities, yada, yada, yada. Let's see. Approve or disapprove of the way Trump is handling a situation with Iran, 42. Foreign affairs, 41. Immigration, 38. The economy, 37. Middle East issues between Israel and the Palestinians, 36. Foreign trade, 36. Ukraine, 33. The federal budget, 29. Let's see. President Trump's job approval ratings by party, of course, foreign affairs, Republicans are 93%, independents 33%, Democrats 3%. Situation in Ukraine, 70% Republican approved, 24% independents approved, 12% Democrats approve. Federal budget, 81% Republicans approved, 19% independent approved, 3% Democrats approved. Trump's second quarter job approval rating, similar to first term record low. See, first term approval ratings, 76%, John F. Kennedy, Donald Trump, 39%, average 59%. Let's see, based on Gallup polls conducted between April 20th and July 19th of each post-World War II elected presidents first and second terms, if applicable. Dwight D. Eisenhower, first term 72, second term 64. Barack Obama, first term 62, second term 48. Reagan 61-59, Nixon 62-44, Obama 62-48, Bill Clinton 44-56, Donald Trump 39 and 40, first and second terms. Trump favorable rating down 7 points since January to 41%. Bottom line, Trump closes out the second quarter of his second term in office, having accomplished much of what he said he would do, yet outside of his Republican base, relatively few Americans are pleased with his performance. His rating is falling to the lowest point of his second term. What was missing there was his handling of the Epstein issues. The Epstein case is causing even Republicans to not be very happy with Herr Donald. P-Dubs just sent me an email. Okay, hold on. Let me check my email. Oh, check into email. If you watch homestarrunner.com, you would know. Check into email. Check into email. P-Dubs, you say you sent me a link to your stream. However, there's no link to the stream in the email. So send me another email with the actual link. Because I don't see a link. But please go ahead, send me a link, and we will share it, and we'll make sure that the mods share it as well. Let's see. Trucker John, we're all silly at some point. I'm always silly. Let's see. His poll numbers are still too damn high. Should be 0. Independents, i.e. enlightened centrists, read right-wingers, and completely unengaged people. 2% of Dems, who's that? The Young Turks? Exactly. It probably is the Young Turks. Or people who are at least registered as Democrats, but who still vote Republican on every issue. Like, I remember back in the day, I ran for office for local city council in my district. It was my third run for office or whatever. Did terribly. But what I tried to do, what I thought would be smart to do, actually I think this took place in maybe the first run, where I was targeting people in my district, plotting a run for my district while I was running at large. And I was going door to door, talking to people, whatever. And what I did is I got the voter list, and I got people who were like 4 to 5, 8 out of 10 voters, like chronic voters, and like finding all the ones that were registered Democrat, finding their addresses, go door to door, knock on the door, and they're like, well, we're registered Democrat, but that was back when you had to be registered Democrat to vote for something or whatever, so we just never changed our party affiliation, but we're more Republicans now anyway. I'm like, okay, so there are plenty of people, especially in Louisiana, who are still registered Democrats, even though they're pretty much Republicans when it comes to how they vote and who they support. So, but anyway, yeah, I don't believe the, polls that have Donald Trump being supported at this point are definitely outliers, with maybe the capital or emphasis on liar, right? So before we open up the phone lines, let us go ahead and talk about this one other story again before we open up the phone lines. According to ABC News, Supreme Court formally asked to overturn landmark same-sex marriage ruling. We all knew this was coming. If you paid attention to Liberal Dan Radio, Talk from the Left, that's right. We read over the concurrence with Dobbs v. Jackson, where not only did Clarence Thomas talk about how he supported the ruling, but how, we should also go handle other things like, Obergefell v. Hodges, Casey, not Casey versus Planned Parenthood, Obergefell v. Hodges, I think he even said Loving versus Virginia, the Griswold versus Connecticut, various other rulings that basically gave people more liberty. So 10 years after the Supreme Court extended marriage rights to same-sex couples nationwide, the justices this fall will consider for the first time whether to take up a case that explicitly asks them to overturn that decision. Kim Davis, the former Kentucky County Clerk who was jailed for 6 days in 2015 after refusing to issue marriage licenses to a gay couple on religious grounds, is appealing the $100,000 jury verdict for emotional damages plus $260,000 attorney fees. A petition for the writ of certiorari filed last month. Davis argues First Amendment protection of free exercise of religion, and that should immunize her from personal liability for denial of marriage license. More fundamentally, she claims the High Court's decision in Obergefell v. Hodges extending marriage rights for same-sex couples under the 14th Amendment due process protections were egregiously wrong. The mistake must be corrected, wrote Davis's attorney Matthew Staver in the petition. He calls Justice Anthony Kennedy's majority opinion legal fiction. The petition appears to mark the first time since 2015 the court has been formally asked to overturn the landmark decision. Now, first of all, how do you unring that bell? How are you going to undo all of those marriages of the people who for the last 10 years have been getting married? If there's ever a case of exceptional importance, Staver wrote, the first individual in this republic's history who was jailed for following religious convictions. No. Regarding historic definition of marriage, this should be it. Lower courts have dismissed Davis's claims, and most legal experts consider her bid a long shot. A federal appeals court concluded earlier that the former clerk cannot raise First Amendment as a defense because she is being held liable for state action, which the First Amendment does not protect. Of course, this is an activist conservative Supreme Court, so who the hell knows how they'll act, or what legal fictions that they will create as it pertains to what she can or cannot claim as it pertains to the First Amendment. I mean, they created the whole legal fiction of the total presidential immunity, and you might say, well, they didn't say they have total presidential immunity. There are some things that could still technically be not immune from. However, there is a presumption of immunity that is automatically assumed, and you also cannot subpoena the communications of the executive branch. So how the hell are you going to prove anything if you can't subpoena the records, because all the communications of the executive branch are considered to be privileged, regardless of what they're on? So Davis's appeal to the Supreme Court comes as conservative opponents of marriage rights for same-sex couples pursue a renewed campaign to reverse legal precedent to allow the state each set its own policy. That's not what they want. They want the states to be able to not recognize gay marriage. They'll claim that they first want to do it and allow it to happen on a state-by-state basis, but then how the hell are you going to enforce that? because if somebody gets married in New York and then moves to Louisiana, Louisiana should be required to then respect the contract that is created by that marriage. So you can't have it a legal patchwork. The questions presented according to the case in Obersville v. Hodges, 5 lawyers closed the debate and imposed an act of will, not legal judgment. The right it announced had no basis in the Constitution, says who. The court read a right to same-sex marriage into the 14th Amendment, even though the right is found nowhere in the text. Remember that the 9th Amendment does not require rights to be enumerated in order for them to be rights, but the 14th Amendment requires states that cannot deny equal protection under the law under the 14th Amendment, and as such, denying citizens who are in same-sex marriage or same-sex relationships, denying them the ability to, get married, is denying them equal protection under the law, which would be a violation of the 14th Amendment because states do not have the authority to deny people equal protection under the law. So you don't have to say what ways states must be required to protect equal protection under the law. They just have to. In all aspects. You don't have to enumerate it, because if you enumerate it, you're going to miss something. That's why the 9th Amendment is written in the way that it's written, because they enumerated certain rights, but the founders, in their somewhat wisdom, basically determined that they were going to make sure that nobody could make the argument that just because something isn't enumerated, it doesn't mean it's not a right. Of course, Alito did just that in the ruling overturning abortion rights in Dobbs v. Jackson, several times in that ruling. Obersville was decided, as predicted at the time, Obersville was decided it would be threaten religious liberty of many Americans who believe that marriage is a sacred institution between one man and one woman. What about all the people that believe that marriage was a sacred institution between one man and one woman of the same race? You're going to go back and overturn that too? I mean, we all know Clarence Thomas wants to do that because that's the only way he can probably get out of his marriage without having to pay her alimony. As a result of this court's alteration of the Constitution, they did not alter the Constitution. Davis found herself with a choice between her religious beliefs and her job. When she chose to follow her faith, she was sued almost immediately for violating constitutional rights of same-sex couples. She did. After being sued, she was thrown in jail for doing so and then faced a jury verdict of over $300,000, including attorney's fees, solely for hurt feelings. But, you denied them the ability. You basically were acting as an arm of the state, and you had no right to do so. You had no authority to do so. You have the right to not get married. You have the right to not be a pastor and be forced to marry two people who are in a same-sex marriage or relationship. You have that right. You don't have the authority as somebody working for the government. You don't have the authority to deny them equal protection under the law. That's what the Constitution requires that you not do. Of course, questions presented are whether the First Amendment Free Exercise Clause provides an affirmative defense to tort liability based solely on emotional distress damages. No, it does not, because you were not using your First Amendment rights because you were acting on behalf of the state. You were not acting on behalf of yourself. Whether the government official stripped of 11th Amendment immunity and sued in her individual capacity based solely on emotional distress damages and no actual damages. Again, you were still making that choice to do so. So maybe they should have also sued the state, but this is your personal action. You using your authority to enforce your personal beliefs on other people, so that should open yourself up to liability. And then whether Obersville v. Hodges and the, quote, legal fiction of substantive due process should be overturned. It's not a legal fiction whatsoever. And then there's a whole bunch. We're not going to go into this because I'm sure the vast majority of the things stated in here are just drivel and garbage and nothing that should be listened to. And hopefully the Supreme Court won't listen to them. Hopefully they'll either decide to not take it up or push it back. But in 2025, at least 9 other states have introduced legislation aimed at blocking new marriage licenses for LGBTQA folks, or passed resolutions urging the Supreme Court to reverse Obersville at its earliest opportunity. In June, the Southern Baptist Convention, the nation's largest Protestant Christian denomination, overwhelmingly voted to make overturning of laws and court rulings, including Obersville v. Hodges, that divide God's design of marriage as a top priority. So these are people who are using their religion to push hate on others. One of the reasons why I might not be a practicing Jewish person, I practiced enough as a kid, I don't need to practice anymore. One of the reasons that I still appreciate Judaism is because we don't believe that our rules should apply to everybody else. We don't want, if we choose to keep kosher and not eat bacon, not eat cheeseburgers, not eat shellfish, then that's our right to do so. We're not going to put that requirement on y'all and force you to follow our religious beliefs. It's not legal for us to drive on the Sabbath, but you can drive on the Sabbath all you want. Now, sure, I don't follow because I like bacon cheeseburgers. I like crabs and crawfish and shrimp, and I'm just a bad Jew. Married a Catholic. Our kids are cashews, but I'm not going to tell other people that they have to follow my religious beliefs. Simple as that. And you should not, Kim Davis, or anybody else should not be able to push your religious beliefs on other people as well, especially using your position in government to do so. Let's see. Kimchi. I am super stoned, extra super stoned, because I threw my lower back out and muscle relaxers are the only relief. I'm very sorry to hear that, Kimchi. You should find yourself a young virile person to come rub your back for you. Impeccable Living. I didn't see Impeccable Living come in the chat.
Oh my.
Good to see you, Impeccable Living. What else did I miss? I scroll up, I was like, where have you been, Impeccable Living? Were you doing something gay? And then I scroll up and see Impeccable Living saying, sorry I'm late, I was doing something gay. Doing something gay or doing someone gay?
Oh my.
Anyway, so, anyway, I have too much fun with that button, I think. Jan Morgan, 5 Al Jazeera journalists killed in Gaza by Israel's psychopathic liar. Yeah, I mean, Netanyahu is a gaslighter. He is a war criminal, and he continues to push his war crimes. Simple as that. I don't know if I put this video up on YouTube or not. If I did, it should be there somewhere. If I had it, I should put it up there. But basically, it starts off with Michael Flynn. Michael Flynn talking about how there was supposedly a stand-down order that was given where basically Michael Flynn was saying that if that Israel knew of the impending attacks and did nothing to stop them. Well, maybe he should listen to Liberal Dan Radio, Talk from the Left, That's Right, because I found that information in several articles and was able to put that case together, not just with whoever Michael Flynn has contacts with, but looking at media reports, basically saying that Netanyahu said that he wasn't awakened to be able to told that there was an impending attack, or the fact that for a year they knew about it, a potential for an attack just like this, a Project Jericho or something like that is what they called it, and they didn't do anything to stop it because, in my opinion, Benjamin Netanyahu would benefit more from reacting to an attack than stopping it. And we've talked about it on the show for a while, so I don't know, Michael Flynn might need to start listening to Liberal Dan Radio, Talk from Left, That's Right. But it was I just felt dirty almost with that I had to say that I agree, at least in some part, with Michael Flynn and what he's saying. Because Netanyahu absolutely is using this war to distract people from his crimes, or alleged crimes, I guess I should say. Just like Donald Trump is using the militarization of the National Guard inside of D.C., the supposed ideas that D.C. has crime that's running rampant, even though crime in D.C. has dropped since the pandemic, and it's at record lows for most things. Donald Trump doesn't care about figures. We all know that. He just cares about optics. But he's gonna threaten to sue Obama and sue this person and that person or whatever, simply to try and get people's minds off of Epstein. So Benjamin Netanyahu is learning from Donald Trump's actions by, what are we going to do now? We're going to go bomb the hell out of Gaza to free the Gazans of Hamas. I guess if you bomb them all out of existence, then they'll be free from Gazan rule because they'll be dead. I swear to God, there are many people over there who are Israeli citizens that still support Benjamin Netanyahu. There's a ton that don't. But the people, many of the Israeli citizens who support Netanyahu have learned nothing from their history. They refer to Palestinians as animals. They don't care if Palestinians are ethnically cleansed or not. They'd probably cheer Donald Trump removing all the Palestinians from Gaza. And they don't care that Netanyahu is dropping major dumb bombs on top of the heads. When you know they have smart bomb capability, if you saw the attack on Iran that took out like one person in their apartment, it was a tiny little hole, blew up the person, not much collateral damage. So they can target individuals that they want. That's not what they want to do. It's a choice that Netanyahu has, that they're bombing the crap out of the Gazans and causing many to pass away, be murdered by his unethical, immoral, and should be considered illegal actions. So, 250 kilo, I'm good to see you over there. See, atrocious every game. I'd add to Whoopi's amazing line that a gay person probably wouldn't want to marry a bigot. It's not true. There are bigoted gay people. If there are groups on Facebook that are just LGB groups because they leave out the T because there are trans exclusive gay folks, and it's disgusting how you could be somebody who is lesbian, gay, bisexual, and reject trans folks. Like, do you not know your history either, folks? Let's see, atrocious every game. Even if SCOTUS overturned it, Biden signed a federal statute codifying marriage equality. They'd have to repeal that statute. Yeah, but if the Supreme Court ruled that Obergefell v. Hodges was no longer the law of the land, then they would also overturn that as well, I think, by default. But again, we have an activist conservative court, so I don't have any faith that they would follow stare decisis because they've already proven that they won't. I've had someone, because 250 kilo ohm says, I've had someone tell me the First Amendment doesn't mean separation of church and state. Semantics, I guess. I mean, according to Thomas Jefferson, it does. I mean, Thomas Jefferson, the guy that wrote it, or helped write it, one of the founding damn fathers, wrote in his letter to the Danbury Baptists that the First Amendment clearly creates a wall of separation between church and state. But hey. So I've seen that too. Gay people wanting to abandon trans people and trans people trying to abandon non-binary. Yeah, that's also weird. Like, technically, like I don't have a dog in the fight because I'm cisgender, so I'm not somebody who is going to. I am not non-binary. I am not trans. But my understanding is if a valid definition of trans is somebody who is not the gender that is on. They don't identify as the gender as they've had on their birth certificate. So if you're non-binary and you're on your birth certificate was either male or female, then you are not identifying with the gender on your birth certificate, and as such, you are trans. Now, I'm not going to tell somebody who's non-binary who doesn't want to claim the trans label that they are trans. I'm not going to insist and tell them that they must consider themselves trans if they don't consider themselves trans. I'm not going to tell them that they're wrong. But I will tell people that they're wrong if they want to say that if they're trans and want to tell non-binary people that they're not trans. Hey, it's Teresa. Good to see you, Teresa. Thank you for joining the chat. Agolf Twitler is here as well. Good to see you too. I have a whole bunch of people coming around. Good to see y'all. Let's see. When these corrupt MFers went on about the wonderful history of DC police and then shit all over them, calling DC a crime-ridden hellhole, I wanted to puke. Put my fist through the screen or both. Yeah, it's tempting to do all of that. Agolf Twidler, equal protection under the law, guarantees marriage rights for any two unmarried citizens of legal age. I can't believe we still have to have this talk in 2025. Well, of course we do, because Donald Trump said after the 2016 Nevada primaries that he loved the poorly educated, and the poorly educated folks who are in MAGA love to, prove themselves continuously worthy of that love. There we go. Coffee link address. So, Jolie, Aaron, there is P-Dub's link to her stream. So everybody go spread the word. get P-dubs, more subscribers, more listeners, etc. And, you know, more than likely than not, P-dubs will skyrocket right past my total number of subscriptions because, you know, I can't seem to get any traction when it comes to new subscribers. But, you know, as Donald Trump says,
it is what it is.
Thank you, Donald. Imagine these people would say if they found out that Jesus was a brown-skinned, homeless Palestinian Jew. Have you heard the night before Christmas, or the war on Christmas thing that I played between Thanksgiving and New Year's? It does make fun of Megyn Kelly saying about how Santa and Jesus, you know, are both white men or whatever, and they were all very upset that, you know, we would dare say that Jesus Christ wasn't a white man. See, saw the Megyn Kelly thing, right? But there's also my. Let's pull that up. Why not? Why not pull that up and play that for anybody who may not have heard it yet? Let's turn off the desktop audio for a second because it's going to automatically start playing my theme song. And we don't need to hear that again, at least in the middle of the show. Oh, no, it's not because we're live. That's good. Let's see. We search here, War on Xmas. Here we go. Turn this back on so we can play the thing that you normally hear on Liberal Dan Radio, Talk from the Left, that's right, between Thanksgiving and New Year's.
'Twas the night before Christmas when all through the land Fox News warned its viewers of a dastardly plan. The liberals were launching their war on the season to get rid of Christmas and commit acts of treason, removing decorations out of their sight and telling you that Santa and Jesus ain't white. Environmentalists who'll come right after your soul. They hate all things Christmas, especially the coal. They'll sneak in your house all dressed in their flannel and instead give the bad kids some new solar panels. They'll take up all decorations that please us. They'll even go after tiny baby Jesus. Now all these Fox lies cause such a frustration. Who would save us all from this misinformation? When live from the net there came lots of chatter. Could it be old Saint Nick, or perhaps someone fatter? Broadcasting from New Orleans down in Louisiana, it was none other than Liberal Dan, coming to save the holiday season, busting through their lies with facts, logic, and reason. But I cannot do it myself, he exclaimed, so he called other groups, each one by name. On Christians, on Muslims, on Wiccans, on Jews, on Hindus, on Buddhists, and atheists too. Let's all spread the word and tell them indeed that there's no war on Christmas, just one on greed. So instead of joining this manufactured fight, listen to Liberal Dan Radio. Talk from the left, that's right.
And if you listen, if you pay attention to my new intro, the new theme song that I have, I did use some of those lines in that as well. And I'm thinking that with the use of AI, that I may redo that. I don't know if I'll do it with my voice or not, but I definitely want to put like the bells underneath, like make it sound more Christmassy, even though I'm Jewish. But hey, Phil Stone, thank you for letting me know. Thank you for that, and welcome to the show. Appreciate you. Over on Twitch. Have I missed anybody else over here as well? Thank you, Marie. See, that's why I need to listen during the holiday season, because I come up with gems such as that. But yeah, we will. That is also always available on the channel if you just search up War on Christmas, War on Xmas, if you will. On my channel, you'll find that one and various other things that I've created over the course, and that's like over 8 years old. So that's maybe one of my oldest bits that I play all the time. So Impeccable Living says, this is so cute. Oh, thank you. Let's see, before we do open up the phone lines, I did want to do, let's see, do I have that? Let me see if I can get that real quick. Just add this, or I don't know. Let me see. Let me find this first. Stop it. Sometimes the navigation here. At least my thing is working right. see. Base. Download. Then we can add this to, or we could just change the background to just that. There we go. Haven't done one of these in a while. Thank you, Teresa. Appreciate you. So haven't done one of these in a while. Have a couple of ones that I do want to did want to kind of look at. There's like a twofer one that I figured out, so I need to open these up first and then go from there and see if I turned off the thing so you can't. Come on. Open link. That's kind of, I don't know why these two are together, but we'll figure that out in a second as we're doing it. Anyway. So we're doing another one of these unraveling toxic masculinity video reactions. And Emily Saves America just pearly things is there. Let's bring that open here. There I am again. And we have this video about should women face jail time for false accusations. Well, let's listen to what they have to say, shall we?
A lot of guys, because I spoke out against it, and a lot of guys reached out to me that are very famous that had everything taken away from them.
Everything.
And I'm like, women should serve jail time when they lie, and it comes out that it is proven that they lied. Because I don't know if you know about Danny Masterson, who was on that 70s show.
Oh, he's in jail, isn't he?
He got a sentence that's like worse than like murder.
Wow.
Did he really get a sentence that's worse than murder? I mean, give me an effing break. Now look, I will tell you this, and I've said this before on the podcast, I've said this before, I was falsely accused as a teenager. But the police in that situation shockingly did the right thing. They initially believed her, they listened to her story, and then when her story had her leaving, and then it would have gotten to the point where she came back the next day to see me, but supposedly I did something to her on the first day, they were like, no, your story's BS. And so they didn't pursue charges any further, we should say. And there's no evidence to believe whatsoever that the rate of false accusations for sex crimes are any higher than the rate of false accusations for any other crime, maybe about 4 or 5%-ish. And one of the things what happened to me as soon as I found out that they were not going to be pursuing charges against me, the first thing I thought of was, I'm going to have to make sure that I don't allow this circumstance, which what happened to me, to allow me to doubt other people who come forward, because those other people are not likely to be liars just because this one person was. Now, there may have been some character witnesses that came up and spoke in favor of Masterson, but he was found guilty by a jury of his peers. And look, I will agree that if it's shown that you lied and they prove beyond reasonable doubt that you were lying about this, then yeah, there should be some prison time involved. Sure, I don't know if it's the same thing as you should get the same crime as whatever, but again, it should be shown to be malicious or whatever. Let's continue listening to this one though.
Wow.
Because his ex-girlfriends, look, I don't know shit, but I've met him many times.
I don't know shit.
He was always lovely. Never.
And that's one of the things that people will tell you. They don't believe that somebody will commit a sex crime because to them, they were lovely. That person never treated me badly, so therefore, they must not treat anybody poorly. But a lot of sociopaths will absolutely be charming and seem nice until they decide to be sociopathic towards you. So if Danny Masterson would have said, okay, you're going to be the one that I victimized, then you might be singing a different story. So the idea that just because somebody comes forward and says, oh, they were always nice to me, that doesn't disprove that they were shitty to somebody else.
Creepy, never had a bad experience. But I'm like, there's something weird to me about the fact that, and same with like the Trump case with that E. Jean Carroll, who's like a fucking hideous feminist that.
That's why the two are related. E. Jean Carroll, a fucking hideous feminist is what to say. Hideous, i.e. she doesn't look good. This is why these two videos are related.
No one would want to fuck.
It's always the ugliest.
It's always, dude, it's so crazy how all my friends who are like literal supermodels somehow aren't like being shoved in the woods and raped, but somehow the ugliest women to ever exist are.
Okay, but see, E. Jean Carroll didn't accuse Donald Trump of sexually assaulting her. Now, like recently. It was way back when she was younger. Now, there are plenty of people who are old who are very attractive women. I don't think E. Jean Carroll's a hideous person. She just happens to be older.
All perfectly.
I'm like, I don't think they want it that bad.
No.
And one of the things that people don't realize that a lot of times is that when it comes to sexual assaults, that it's not about them being attracted to the person or not. It's about power. It's about them wanting to put power over that person. It doesn't matter if there's attraction as long as you're asserting your dominance and power over somebody. In many cases of sex crimes, that's what it is. So, but let's rewind a second and let's go back to the deposition of Donald J. Trump during the E. Jean Carroll case. And let's see what Donald Trump has to say.
I don't even know who the woman. Let's see. I don't know who. It's Marla.
You say Marla's in this photo?
That's Marla. Yeah, that's my wife.
Which woman are you pointing to? No, that's
Here.
Carol.
Oh, is that?
The person
okay.
you just pointed to was
I
E. Jean
see.
Carroll.
Who is that?
Marla Maples. I don't know if there are many people out there on the planet who are going to sit here and tell you that Marla Maples wasn't an attractive woman. Donald Trump clearly likes to go after attractive women, likes to date attractive women. He thought the picture of E. Jean Carroll was his damn wife. Or second wife, I should say. He thought it was. So clearly, he is now saying that that the person who he's accused and found civilly liable of sexual abuse, the person that he is found liable of sexually abusing, he is saying that he mistook her for his wife that we're all going to assume that he was attracted to, which means he was attracted to E. Jean Carroll, which means what those two idiots were saying in the previous video is BS, because they're claiming, oh, she's hideous. Well, she wasn't hideous back then, was she? He's now mistaking her for his ex-wife, who he was attracted to. So, despite the fact that, there's no requirement of sexual attraction for somebody to assault somebody else, he was attracted to her. So, their stupid argument just goes right out the window. And this is why we have to unravel toxic masculinity, and why clearly there's examples of women who perpetuate toxic masculinity, and why that has to stop too. Anyway, I was so confused as to why I saw the Donald Trump clip, and I did not remember what it is that those women were talking about. And holy crap, then they got to Danny Masterson, like, why did I do this? Why did I compare this to? And then they're like, oh, they brought up E. Jean Carroll. That's why I brought that. That's why these are related. That's why I had to bring these two up. So, yeah. Donald Trump is notoriously unattracted to victims of his rapes, but no, he's attracted to her. Because he was attracted to Marla, he thought he mistook her for Marla, so therefore he was attracted to her. It's the simple laws of mathematics. A equals B, B equals C, A equals C. So, I understand that, Teresa, that you do have to mute that or whatever, but let's see. Impeccable Living, I love you. You're such a good man. Thank you so much. appreciate you. I'll still owe my hat.
My.
Janelle also said, oh my. It looks like she's leaning on a banana. Hilarious. So imagine serving in the U.S. military as a woman and seeing the Secretary of Defense at the Nazi whose religion believes you shouldn't be allowed to vote and be subject to legal rape by your husband. Yeah, that's terrible. I was probably going to maybe talk about more of that on Wednesday. I didn't have enough time to put all of that stuff together. But yeah, Hegseth's a piece of shit who's supporting a church that believes in male dominance and that women shouldn't vote and women shouldn't serve in combat roles and whatever. And like, you know, my opinion, women should, if a woman is capable of doing the job, she should be able to do the job. I don't believe in that somebody who's not capable of a combat role, that they should be able to do it. But I do think that if you need to perhaps reevaluate combat roles, especially with, you know, more technology, that maybe there are combat roles that more people can do, regardless of, you know, I'm not going to say that everybody's going to, you know, be a JSOC officer or whatever, but still, there are plenty of badass women who would kick your ass and my ass and everybody's asses, and if as long as they can meet the qualifications of you know, combat, then they should be able to meet the qualifications and you should be able to serve and do whatever it is they want to do with their country. Furthermore, they shouldn't be taking away the fucking benefits that, you know, they were promised when they discharged people, especially like trans folk, because now they're trying to do that too. Maybe we'll talk about more of that on Wednesday as well. Donald Trump was never a good-looking guy. No, he was not. Not one bit. I mean, attractiveness is subjective. I mean, I can look at some people and say that person is attractive, and you might think, are you blind? Or I might look at somebody, you might say that somebody's not attractive, and I'll say, what are you blind? But in reality, attractiveness is a subjective thing, and as such, you know, it's not unreasonable for me to find somebody attractive that you don't. But of course, I think we'll all agree that Donald Trump is ugly inside and out, all the way down to his dirty, rotten core. Let's see, there was this other one I wanted to go over too. All right, let's mute this again as we open this in a new link. We'll probably briefly open the phone line simply because of the fact that after this, because simply, not yet, but once I put the image up, we'll briefly open up the phone line simply because I probably have to do all of this editing of these videos too. Anyway. Jeff, I've mistaken lots of women that could be my next ex-wife. next ex-wife, not previous one though, right? Helen, 20 years from now, I might not look good naked. You never know. Again, looks are subjective. It's interesting that while Epstein's service was providing abuse and growth, but its product was submissive women and type Republicans line, isn't it? I'll allow that. Yeah, she's not his type. Yeah. Every time it says she's not his type, just tell those people he mistook her for Marla. Simple as that. All right, so here we go. We're doing this live again. Another unraveling toxic masculinity video. And in this one, it's from the Whatever podcast. And it's this Andrew Wilson schmuck who, this video claims that he schools modern women who thinks he's a hypocrite, but in reality, he schools himself.
Would it be a deal breaker for you if you met a man and he had all the right criteria? He was a millionaire, perhaps. He met the attractiveness scale that you wanted. If he had slept with 150 women, but he wanted to settle down with you.
I think if he was ready to settle down, then that's fine as long as he's clean. And now it's just him and I were.
So that wouldn't be a deal breaker, right?
Right.
Okay, but for men, that's a deal breaker.
But for a majority of men, I want to know why.
It should logically make sense. Hypocrisy doesn't mean I'm guilty of the thing in which I'm telling you not to do. That's not hypocrisy. Hypocrisy has a
I mean, it kind of is.
A experience of pretending. I was a former drug addict, let's say, and I'm telling people not to be drug addicts. Am I a hypocrite?
No, because you've changed your ways and you're trying to, I would think that as a man, you're trying to lead by example. Right? That's what a traditional man is.
But if I said, okay, I'm a former drug addict, you should stop being a drug addict and secretly did drugs, would I be a hypocrite then?
Yeah.
Right. That's what actual hypocrisy is. So if
Okay, but the problem is that that's not what you're saying when it comes. Like, her argument was that if somebody was a drug addict, or if a guy slept with 150 women or whatever, that was their body count, which is a BS metric. There's, whatever. But if they've stopped that and they've changed their ways, and now they want to settle down and be monogamous, that she's willing to overlook that. And then he makes the point about, well, what if it's not somebody who's secretly still doing the drugs, but if it's somebody who, used to do drugs but has now cleaned themselves up? He agreed with her about that. So in his claiming that he's schooling her, he's really schooling himself, because he just tore apart his own argument. Because according to his argument, if somebody did sleep with a whole bunch of dudes, but then has decided that they want to settle down, that they want to be married, that they want to be monogamous, then that's fine. That should be fine by his logic, but to his logic, it's not, because he is a hypocrite.
If a man has a preference and he says, I don't want a woman who has a high body count, right? But he's fine with his own high body count, that's not hypocrisy.
It absolutely is hypocrisy, because he's holding her to standards that he's not willing to hold himself to. If he has a high body count in the past, and assuming he's going to commit sexually to the person, and the other person the same thing, then yes, that is hypocrisy. Sheer, utter, 100% hypocrisy. That is why we, again, need to unravel toxic masculinity, because these people are going to shame women for doing what the men want to do themselves. They're going to applaud men who are like, oh, yeah, you scored with 150 women, yay. And then, oh, but you're a terrible harlot for doing that. But again, with the whole drug analogy that they were using, he basically said, and then they're still doing it secretly, which is ultimately gets down to his problem and why these men are so toxic, because it's not, they don't believe that they would stop having their fun or whatever. They would continue to want to do that and would then cheat on you. But that's a whole different other aspect. So the problem is not the body count. It's that he thinks that they're going to continue to do it because they're going to continue to cheat on you. Because for some reason he doesn't trust it. But using his own logic that he agreed to with her, if somebody was doing drugs, and they stopped doing drugs, and they're no longer doing the drugs, then you would trust them and you would be fine with it. Same thing should be with the body count. Of course, again, the only reason that these men don't want women with high body counts, it's not because of purity or they want someone who's chaste or whatever, because if it was about purity, they would remain pure themselves as well. The only reason that these guys want women who are sexually inexperienced is so they don't know how much better it can be with the 2-second, pump and dump that they're going to offer in the bedroom. They don't want their women, and I don't want to call them partners, because these people don't view women as partners at all, but they don't want to have a person with whom they're in a relationship with to understand that, oh, it's so much better with these other people, because then they might have to up their game. But again, if they know that it's better with other people, they have such low opinions of women that they're going to think that, oh, they're obviously going to cheat on me because of, the horrible stuff that they bring in the bedroom. And that's what they're paranoid about, because they're either unable or unwilling to do better in the sack. Anyway. Trump was never handsome, a 5 at best, says Dean Baker. That's being very giving. Saying he's a 5, he was a 5. I mean, -1 at this point. Let's switch back to that, I guess. Are we talking about some stuff that we're going to want to talk about in Liberal Dan Radio After Dark, or Liberal Dan After Dark, or Sex with Liberal Dan? Yeah, Jeff Curry, only 150, rookie. Thank you, Ponzi. Appreciate you. Yeah, he wants to judge women badly for doing exactly what he did. Exactly. That's exactly what they want to do. See, I know what you mean by toxic masculinity, and I've used this term too. I don't think Andrew Wilson is necessarily masculine, nor is Trump, nor is Hank Seth. Regardless, they're shitty people. Yes. But they do promote toxic masculinity. They do promote this whole toxic idea, these toxic ideas that these type of men hold, these red pillar type folks do hold. Can we all believe that agree that this is beyond idiocy? Of course it is, but that's one of the reasons why we point and laugh at them, because, well, why wouldn't we? Anyway, I don't know if Big Hook's still in the chat or not. He may have gone off, but if you do want to call into the radio program, It is 562-LIBDAN1, 562-LIBDAN1, 562-542-3261. Let's, if Big Hook is in the chat still, let's give other people an opportunity first to call in. And just remember, if somebody's on the phone, don't call while somebody's talking, because all you'll do is hear the beep and we won't be able, I can't join in multiple calls at once. I don't have multiple lines that this can be shunted off to. So as soon as somebody calls in, I should remember to turn off the call-in image, but sometimes I forget. So just remember, if somebody's already talking, wait till they hang up and then try and call again. So, but again, 562-LIBDAN1, 562-LIBDAN1, 542-3261. Joe Leak says, you keep teasing us with this Liberal Dan After Dark show. Still waiting. So that's the thing. I want to build this show, and I don't want to do anything that's going to take away. If I'm doing stuff for Liberal Dan Radio, I don't want to take away from it. However, I may start making video. I may make the channel and start making some videos for the channel, just to kind of give a teaser of what I want it to be. Because again, I don't want it to be this channel, because on that channel we're going to talk about things of a frank adult nature. We're going to get into details, and I don't want to harm this channel with that content. So we'll see. Someone has a cookie. Have you not shared a cookie? Someone needs to share a cookie with me. Man, Jeff going only 150, a rookie. Man, I wonder what your magic number is then, Jeff. Or does anybody want to know what? I wonder, have you kept count, Impeccable Living? I mean, because that I would assume that you have a large collection of bodies and not the murder kind. How about those coffee prices? Well, all the prices of everything's going to go up because of tariffs, and the American public is going to suffer because of it. And then again, Trump administration is going to be like, oh, look, we're doing so great because we're bringing so much revenue to the federal government because of these tariffs. Like, yeah, because we're paying for it, you dumbass. Oh, Big Hook's there. Hey, look at that. Lost count over 300. Hold on.
Oh my.
I don't know if I should stand up and applaud or not, but I don't know, if I stand up, you might see whether or not I'm wearing pants. Leave that as a whatever. Liberal Dan After Surgery would be a good show. Yeah, see how loopy I am. Liberal Dan after taking a pain pill. So, make it a segment of the show. Well, that's the thing. I don't want to make it a segment of this show, because if I put it on this channel, I fear that I'm going to risk the monetization of this channel by putting in adult content, like adult theme, like not necessarily adult content, but talking about sexual topics, sexual health, other issues in a frank, open, and uncensored way. Whereas if I talk about those subjects, I try and kind of, if I do it here, I kind of want to tightrope it. Like, whatever. Anyway. Make it a segment of the show after dark. I mean, yeah, but I also was tempted about just putting like Liberal Dan After Dark stuff on the Patreon. So if you wanted to have access to the Patreon, then you can. But again, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what I do with that. I know I keep teasing it, but like I'd really like to get the 3,000 subs here first before even putting in much effort when it comes to that. Look, if I win the Powerball, if I win the Powerball tonight, absolutely I'll make the new channel, start doing it, whatever, because then I'll have all the time in the world. So, but until then, we'll have to keep teasing the show. Anyway, so Big Hook, it doesn't look like anybody else is calling in. If you do want to call in for a few minutes, you can do so. We'll probably limit it to about we'll probably want to end the show in 15 minutes, so I have time to do some uploading of videos to the podcast. So, but if you do want to call in, you can call in for a smidge, and then we'll go for ending the show in about 14 or so minutes. unless you don't want to call, unless you're going to say, unless you're passing, then I might just end the show now. But wait, what happened, Jeff? It was at a wedding reception. Party made it to a house. We've been talking. Shit face. They put us in bed. That sounds questionable as to what they were doing with y'all. I mean, if y'all were drunk, we were not neither of you in a position to consent. They shouldn't be encouraging such behavior, right? I mean, I tell the story a bunch of times when I discuss consent about how when I was in college and there was somebody who I had lots of sexual tension with, and I could have sworn up and down that she would have wanted to have some fun, but the one time where that became a significant possibility, we were both majorly shit-faced, and I was not going, and this is in like 90s, this is like 95, 96 maybe, way before Me Too, but again, I was raised right to understand, issues of consent or whatever, and I knew that she was far too drunk to consent. I was far too drunk to consent. I mean, I wouldn't have cared if something happened to me, but again, I was even though I had 6 hand grenades, and hand grenades are freaking ridiculously strong, I had 6 of them, which should have knocked me out. Apparently it blacked her out because she doesn't remember anything after 4, but I basically told her friends that were with us, I could have been like, we're going to take her back to my house, and they probably wouldn't have cared, but I was like, make sure she gets back to her dorm because she's too drunk. And then we ended up seeing each other at another time when both of us were sober, and it happened anyway. So there's Big Hook. Hello, hello.
Hello, how are you doing today, Dan?
I'm doing all right. How are you up in the balmy north of Vancouver?
Yeah, it's a little bit sticky today.
A little windy too, huh? Or are you driving?
I'm driving in my new car, so I'm not sure if I told you I managed to pick up a car from Japan, 2008 Corolla Fielder, and it only had 14,500 kilometers on it, and all in all, I'm into it for 10 grand.
Wow. Very cool. Is there any way to close the window? Because we're hearing a lot of that.
Okay, not a problem.
Okay.
I'll shut it down. Okay, I think this is better.
There you go. That's much better. Because, I mean, I don't necessarily mind the wind per se, but we just couldn't hear you, and that's the problem. We want to hear you. So.
Okay, not a problem. Not a problem. Yeah, no, I'm just amazed at how bad things are right now. You've got all the ICE raids. You've got Tom Homan talking nonsense all the time. Their figures that have been fact-checked, dispute everything that they're telling the public as well as Fox News. At some point, they're going to start shutting down all the agencies that do have the figures and whatnot. So in which case, you're not going to be able to say, how can I dispute something that I can't find information on?
Right.
I mean, at this rate, he's going to go after Google and try to shut Google and YouTube down. I have my other problems, which are with AI, because, it's identity theft as well as, fake videos. What was it? Chris Cuomo got AI faked out by an AOC video.
Mm-hmm.
That was, for all the chatter about how AI is going to improve our lives, it isn't self-evident. Right now it's largely being used as a tool, as a toy for making pictures as well as, in your case, music creations and whatnot. But, outside of that, I don't really see where it's going to be used at this point. Because, yes, okay, if you have a center where you're going to use it to eliminate other people's, like a call center or whatnot, maybe there. But I'll tell you something. There's no way I will choose an AI bot over a real person. You know, even if they are living in India, you know, at least I got somebody to talk to and can, you know, get some results or some real follow through, because, you know, it's just not there.
Oh yeah, I mean, like I definitely wouldn't trust AI with any health issues. I mean, we all know about the United Healthcare, and how, you know, Luigi, when Luigi Mangione or whatever did his actions, allegedly, and they one of the things that came out was that they're using artificial intelligence to accept or deny claims, which is just bullshit. Like, if you're going to use AI or any sort of automatic system to determine whether or not somebody should have a claim, if it says no, there should be some human check that says, okay, let's verify that this should be a no, but they weren't doing that. Now you have another insurance company who says that their child's like their toddler or infant or whatever that's dealing with some issues, that their procedures won't be covered to help save their child's life. And of course, I think that's just going to breed more Luigi Mangionis. So.
Well, I think it's come down to that at this point, because the thing is that corporations say, "Oh, we have rights too," and it's like, corporations aren't people. Oh, yes, they are. According to the Supreme Court, we are. We have the ability to throw money at corrupt politicians and get them to sign shit that nobody in their right mind would, and that allows us to lie, cheat, and steal, as well as you know, kill people by denying their claims. You know, I mean, it's you know, it's all horse shit. Like I said last week, you know, you guys really fucked up because you didn't go for universal health care. And all it takes is one or two of these, you know, corrupt guys who are willing to take big money because, oh, I got into the cat seat and now they're throwing money at me, and I'm thinking to myself, you know, I kind of like this good life, you know, where people hand me money with no questions asked and just sort of wink and nod and put shit in front of me to sign, you know, and if I don't question it or read it, that's all they want. You know, I mean, and that's what it boils down to. It's really sick and twisted, you know.
Well, I mean, we're so dumb as a country, at least enough of us are dumb in a country, that we've been told to believe that paying $500 a month extra in taxes is socialism to get universal health care, but paying $1,200 a month is somehow American. And I mean, it is American, but it's not patriotic, and it's pretty much BS. So.
Yeah, but like, for example, I'll give you I've been thinking about this for a while, you know, like, we say the maggots are dumb, and they go, "Oh, I'm insulted," and it's like, okay, let's figure out what dumb means. It means, number one, you're uninformed. Okay, that's one. Number two, you accept anecdotal evidence from known liars and uphold it as truth. And, you know, if you're willing to open yourself up to lies, that's the definition of being gullible. And what is gullible? Gullible is stupid too. Now, if you're also going to be, oh, well, I can't accept the truth because that would make me look bad, you know, now you're using your own ego against yourself and making yourself even more stupid, because you're doubling down on stuff that's going to hurt you and other people. And in fact, you know, you're making things worse for yourself and everyone else around you, you know. And that's the thing, you know, it's really infuriating, because the thing is that the information is out there. And my worry is that with Trump and all this AI crap that's coming down the pipeline, truth is going to be whatever the oligarchs determine it is.
Or at least it'll be drowned out with bots that are trying to push out so much false information that it'll be difficult to find the true one. And also, there's also the same thing where these idiots took the took the wrong moral of the story from The Boy Who Cried Wolf, because to them it's, if somebody lies, you should believe them, because what if they're telling the truth the next time? So,
but that's just it. They look at these dystopian movies and they go, "Oh, we should try that." Like, who fucking does that? How bad do you have to be in the head to think, "Oh, well, that's my future because a billionaire said it." A billionaire doesn't give a crap whether you have, good drinking water, whether your air is clean, whether you get cancer and then can't afford to get health care and stuff, or better yet, can't afford to move out of the dangerous area that is causing all your health problems. I mean, all the redlining, all the things that the structural racism that went through, which they all cried, "Oh, CRT, oh, it's bullshit." It's like, yeah, it's not bullshit. It's the reality. You just don't want to face reality because it conflicts with your racism.
Yep.
And that's just it. And let's face it, what is racism? Racism is basically a phobia concocted in your head because you can't rationalize what is actually true. So you told yourself a fairy tale and believed it. So, like I said, they get insulted when we call them this, and they don't understand that you have fulfilled all the outlying definitions of stupid. You don't go and look for better sources. You believe anecdotal stuff when there's no basis for it, and you can't find a source, you can't cite a source, and you repeat it to others like it's the gospel, when in fact the gospel is hearsay again. That's what gets me. There's the truth, and then there's what you want it to be, and that's what they're playing with. It just irks the crap out of me because these are not responsible adults. And then they do the walk away and it's a difference of opinion, and it's like, no, you're just being stubborn, and you refuse to grow up and take the lesson and better yourself for yourself and others. And that's what's, beyond me. I mean, I think we're coming to the point now where the people are sick of the bullshit lines where, incrementalism within the politics, and looking at how other countries have already dealt with these monumental problems, that is the creation of the U.S. all by itself, and they don't have those problems and have moved on and are, conquering much more difficult problems that, make the world a better place for you and me. And, I don't know what to say anymore. It's very depressing. I want to be a really positive guy. I really do. I really want better things for everybody. And I think it's more than capable, But, I mean, these people can't even accept the fact that their food comes from immigrants, these people that they're rounding up with ICE.
Right.
So not only are you going to lose
they cry when my crops are dying in the field. Well, why is that? Because you made the wrong choice. You fucked around and you found out. But that then hurts more people than just them. So, whatever. But yeah.
But that's just it. These are, and once again, it falls upon the same definition of stupid. Oh, I use my phobia, which was racism, to justify something that will hurt me in the end. And they go, "Oh, I'm not stupid." Yes, you are. You fall within all, rationalization of being stupid. Your decision wasn't well thought through. You didn't think of what the consequences were, and you didn't, and everything you believe, you've been told by others who can't show you any evidence of what it is that you believe. You know,
Right.
it's the same logic as the Easter Bunny. I mean, and they can't see that. I mean, at some point in time, you grow up and you learn, oh, Santa isn't real. You know, it's your parents and your loved ones that give you these gifts. It's just, you know, it's just a celebration of life and you know, the end of the harvest where everybody gathers together and celebrates what they already have and look forward to what's possible in the new year. You know, I mean, and like they can't see this stuff.
Nope.
I mean,
they're just so blind. They're willfully blind. They're willfully ignorant, which is probably the worst type of ignorance there, because people who are ignorant can always be taught, but if you're willfully ignorant, you can't be taught at all because you're refusing to learn. Anyway, it is 10 my time, so any last comments before we head off for the night?
Well, let's face it, it's mental illness. It is. Mm-hmm. You know, we like I said the last time I said, it's like a bad case of syphilis. And these people have not gone on to the next evolution, which is to think in a rational way with critical thinking and using real evidence, you know, and checking sources and doubling. And you know, if you say, oh, well, it doesn't make sense to me that this is such, then go and conduct your own experiment and figure out if it's true or not.
Right.
You know, I mean, these people are so freaking lazy, you know, and the thing is that they say, oh, well, you know, and it's like you're letting other people do your thinking for you as opposed to being an independent individual, you know. Freedom of speech means freedom of thought, which also means that you're capable of coming to logical, rational conclusions and whatnot. And if you don't, you're not reading enough books and you're not experiencing life that everyone else is. Because, you know, I can point to something and say that's blue, and you could point to it and say it's green. But if there's 10 other people that all say it's blue, mm-hmm. you have to look. You need to re-examine what you've been taught and told, and think maybe somebody told me that color was the wrong color when in fact everyone else sees what I don't see. Mm-hmm. You know, and that's just it. But anyway, I know you got other things to do. So, but it's always a pleasure talking with you. But you know, the more it rattles around in my brain, I try to make sense of the world. And I keep thinking, God, there's too many idiots on this planet. And, you know, and it's a case of God must love stupid people. Otherwise, he wouldn't have made so many of them. So,
well, I mean, anyway. They talk about, you know, people who are, you know, happy, you know, blissfully ignorant. I mean, these people must be happy as shit. But anyway.
Yeah.
So anyway, thank you so much. You have a good rest of your night. Appreciate you as always. And I will talk to you Wednesday.
Okay. Take care, Dan.
All right. You too. Bye.
Okay. Bye.
All right. And that's Big Hook from the Great White Balmy North. Apparently they got up to 30 degrees Celsius, which is like 80. I think we figured out 6 degrees in Fahrenheit or whatever. So anyway, we'll probably end the show again with a couple of my Tom Lehrer reimaginings. So we'll play that on both Twitch and YouTube, and we'll be live tomorrow for the Nerdy Dance stream, and then we'll be live Wednesday, the day before my procedure, for one last hurrah before my knee gets yeeted. So my left knee, at least. So until next time, thank y'all very much. Remember, support the show. Liberal Dan on Venmo. buymeacoffee.com/liberaldanradio, or just go to liberaldan.com and click the Buy Me a Cider button. Although we'll talk more about cider in a little bit. I might have to change that up too. With another set of results that we got. I'm also concerned about that, but we're not going to go into full details about that till the next one. But the most important, best thing you can do, you know, you can buy a t-shirt, go to the store at liberaldanradio.com. You can gift subscriptions over on Twitch, gift memberships over here on YouTube. You can buy yourself a subscription or a membership on YouTube, super chat on YouTube, bits on Twitch. But the most important thing to do, like videos, comment on videos, correspond, interact with other people on the videos, get the algorithms up, because as we all know, Al Gore needs more rhythm. So until if you stop by Tuesday on Nerdy Dan's Twitch channel, nerdydan.com on Twitch, see you then. Otherwise, we will see you on Wednesday, same bad time, same bad channel. Until then, peace.
Spring is here, suffering is here. Life is Skittles and life is beer. I think the loveliest time of the year is the spring. I do, don't you? Of course you do. But there's one thing that makes spring complete for me. It makes every Sunday a treat for me. All the world sings in tune on a spring afternoon when we're poisoning pigeons in the park. Every Sunday you'll see my sweetheart and me as we poison the pigeons in the park. When they see us coming, the birdies all try and hide, but they still go for peanuts when coated with cyanide. The sun's shining bright, everything seems alright when we're poisoning pigeons in the park. We've gained notoriety and caused much anxiety in the Audubon Society. With our games, they call it impiety and lack of propriety, and quite a variety of unpleasant names. But it's not against any religion to want to dispose of a pigeon. So if Sunday you're free, why don't you come with me and we'll poison the pigeons in the park? And maybe we'll do in a squirrel or two while we're poisoning pigeons in the park. And maybe we'll do in a squirrel or two while we're poisoning pigeons in the park. We'll murder them all amid laughter at merriment, except for the few we take home to experiment. My pulse will be quickening with each drop of strychnine. Me feed to a pigeon, it just takes a smidgen to poison a pigeon in the park.
First you get down on your knees, fiddle with your rosaries, bow your head with great respect, and genuflect, 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 genuflect. Do whatever steps you want if you have cleared them with the pontiff. Everybody say his own. Huey, hey, Alea Sone, doing the Vatican rap. Get in line in that processional, step into that small confessional. They're the guy who's got religional, tell you if your sin's original. If it is, try playing it safer. Drink the wine and chew the wafer. 2, 4, 6, 8. Time to transubstantiate. So get down upon your knees, fiddle with your rosaries, bow your head with great respect, and genuflect, genuflect, genuflect. Make a cross on your abdomen, we're in a row, do like a Roman. Ave Maria, damn, it's good to see ya. Getting ecstatic and sorta dramatic, and doing the Vatican rap.
I ache for the touch of your lips, dear, but much more for the touch of your whips, dear. You can raise welts like nobody else as we dance to the masochism polka. Let our love be a flame, not an ember. Say it's me that you want to dismember. Blacken my eye, set fire to my tie as we dance to the masochism polka. At your command, before you here I stand. My heart is in my hand. Ugh, it's here that I must be. My heart entreats. Just hear those savage beats and go put on your cleats and come and trample me. Your heart is hard as stone or mahogany. That's why I'm in such exquisite agony. My soul is on fire, it's aflame with desire, which is why I perspire when we coca. You caught my nose in your left castanet, love. I can feel the pain yet, love. Every time I hear drums and I envy the rose that you held in your teeth, love, with the thorns underneath, love, sticking into your gums. Your eyes cast a spell that bewitches. The last time I needed 20 stitches, oh, to sew up the gash that you made with your lash as we dance to the masochism polka. Bash in my brain and make me scream with pain, then kick me once again and say we'll never part. I know too well I'm underneath your spell, so darling, if you smell something burning is my heart, excuse me, take your cigarette from its holder and burn your initials in my shoulder. Fracture my spine and swear that you're mine as we dance to the masochism polka. Drop the bomb, so don't wait up for me. But while you swelter down there in your shelter, you can see me on your TV while we make a necropolis. Watch George Stephanopoulos describing all the populace and cities we have lost. No need for you to miss a minute of the nuclear holocaust. Little Johnny Jones, he was a U.S. pilot, and no shrinking violet was he. He was mighty proud when World War III was declared. He wasn't scared, no siree. And this is what he said on his way to Armageddon. So long, Mom, I'm off to drop the bomb, so don't wait up for me. But though I may roam, I'll come back to my home. Although it may be a pile of debris, remember, Mommy, I'm off to get a commie. So send me a salami and try to smile somehow. I'll look for you when the war is over, an hour and a half from now.